I'm gonna minimize the chance.
Just record some basic lines and then it just cast by using your sampler. Either way,
That'd be the easiest day rate ever. I replaced myself with an AI. Ying. Yeah, fair enough. MNM. They know what they don't like. They know who they don't want to have it, and it's Wild, specifically Hungary, I think.
Just something tells me it would be Hungary, yeah. But you know, it is what it is. No Ying here. No Maverick either. Operator that, of course, is able to, let's say, bypass any form of electricity. He can just go right underneath through that wall with the blowtorch. Azami, very solid pick, has been very problematic. MNM been using that the correct way. And now the final band to come through is going to be Solace again. So, you know, not having those drones.
Well, this is the really curious fight, isn't it? Because this is the fight that we had before. And you and I cast it when these two teams met on club back, you know, early on in the season. It was around the third game, I think. The third game of the fourth game. And it was one of the ones where MNM could have won it. There was 3 1vx's won by Wild during the Clubhouse Showdown in what was a 7-5 game. You know, any of those go the other way, suddenly you've got yourself an OT. 2 of those go the other way, and MNM win. It was, you can't sort of get over how close it was.
You want to know what the bans were back then?
Tell me. Give me the good stuff.
MNM had banned Solace and Ying.
Yeah.
And Wild had banned Maverick and Azami.
Wow.
How coincidental.
How you would say it's a coincidence? Just it's preparation, I suppose?
Maybe we've loaded up the wrong VOD.
We couldn't have... yeah. If we have a 3-3 first half production...
You might want to check that we got the right VOD for the Clubhouse match here, because otherwise it's going to be a bit problematic.
Now, it's not to say... Now, I know I've sort of said it could have been MNM's game the last time these two played. It's not because Wild were particularly underperforming. I would say that was because MNM were underperforming. There was a couple of gags, a couple of goofs, and a couple of things that just didn't quite line up. And they would obviously be more frustrated than anybody would in that situation. But it was Wild making sure that they could put pressure onto the mistakes of MNM more than, you know, that sort of swing round of being overpowered or underpowered. MNM have to defeat their own demons, which is them in clutch situations.
Don't know how that's still around. Like, after basically 2-3 stages now, we still mention that. Like, it just keeps happening to them on a consistent basis. By the way, Jagsy was one of the players that didn't really had a great game the last two. These two met on Clubhouse. Nave is the other one. Both of them relatively low in the EPS scores. Many of them have a bit of a different game. That could be one of those big difference makers as well. Long angles are being set up towards the main stairs, not wanting to have to deal with that. Make sure that if anybody passes, you can just have a free kill at that matter. Hello, holding on to the dirt tunnel. It's going to be opened up very soon here. I believe Teb going to be making his way over to Skeleton Key himself a way in. I'm not sure if Nello's actually wanting to have a go at a fight here.
Well, the smashing starts its way across. Obviously, there's still the heft of the site itself, or the ground floor needs to be popped and defined. That's the joy of club. It is hefty. You can still sort of do those wide holes, those big stretches, celebrating all the width and depth that it offers. And MNM, they're not going to throw their hands up too much. With the bans that we've got, you won't have too much played against the hatches directly. The kitchen has been cleared. The pressure up from the sleds. There's nobody underneath to try and get the swing round. The grenades towards the back of the A case aren't quite netting the result, and they have the player inside dirt as well, which just means a drop on this hatch without a proper flood and flash burst is going to probably be a bit detrimental. They do catch the side and Nafe on the back end of it. There's the blinds, there's the pressure, the bolt just towards the A case. The smoke is the cover, and the smoke is covered. Packbull is caught out, and he's pulling out the goo mine. He survives on a sliver of health, but it just takes that. The impact over the top of Tyrant is able to get rid of the end of Packbull. Teb suffered a lot on top of the hatch as well, but they've got to get that kit back. The C4 a bit premature. Hungry's able to get the kit back up and try and get it down again, but you're still looking at that utility nade with the C4 over the top, the lock on the box, and one on the back of Jags. There's two, there's almost three. But MNM, they had the time and they had the hold.
4 players dropped through that hatch. 4 players dropped through that hatch with the intention of getting that diffuser down on the ground, and none of them were able to find success with it. MNM, they find that first. That's what they need. They need to continue that momentum they've built up over the previous map, because, again, they are the ones that had the biggest loss during that first map and the outage that happened right afterwards. So they want to show that they can do it in 2, as I mentioned before. That's what they're aiming for here. So up towards Gym we go. And after that first round, while they had some early control, they wanted to go for that plant. Somehow Packbull survived in the middle of the smoke with a goo mine in his feet, like just barely. For long. It's going to be a different approach now. It's going to be more horizontal. You will see them open up these walls. It's going to be more horizontal gunfights. It will be no just drop in and hope for the best kind of plant plays, because that just doesn't work on this side.
Doesn't bode well for the conspiracy theorists that this is just the replay of the first map that these two played. In that the first round of their showdown was MNM winning a Judge Arsenal defense by elimination. So this could still be the
other game, yeah. And we actually went to Master and Gym afterwards.
They did go to Master and Gym afterwards. Slightly different upgrades, though. But maybe it's just a reskin.
We just reskin that. They just put a different overlay over it.
Yeah. But let's see how it comes. Yeah, there actually was one of the clutch rounds. It was Solotov got a 4K and Jags was able to just clutch at the end of it and bring themselves back into the fight there. And Jags is always that name. They said it on the desk, as we sort of highlighted during the game. He was doing these big sort of hero plays, but a lot of it was by himself. There wasn't quite anyone to just give him that little extra support, whereas you see it from the side of MNM, there's always usually a second ready to swing. Nello just locks the box, keeps the pressure up. Solotov obviously has the rotate to eye towards the breach on the other side, but still with the extension, it's Jags that's taken himself the route round. For a second I thought it was on logistics, but no, he's sort of eyeing up the pressure on the window and underneath.
Just hoping that if anybody just makes a bit of too many noises out there, you can just go for a quick swing, take someone out. Opening will be made onto construction side. It's going to be opening up some extra pressure as well. You can also look into that from above, so that rotation no longer is that safe to use for MNM. The amount of players that are still currently offside, I believe that's 3 in total. It's going to be a bit more, 2 actually, going to be a bit more difficult to get back in. Solotov somehow just survives that grenade. It's going to be falling back a little bit further, heading himself into construction now, but he needs to be careful because, you know, just a single bullet of anything and he's going to be taken down as he is right now. That's the first kill to come through for Aces.
Straight into the site as well. He's looking for the next and he finds it. Aces tearing his way across. Packbull does get the credit on the kill, but with Nello at least getting one back, it's still a 4 versus 2. They have themselves inside the site. The pings are coming, and so is Tab over the back of the fight. Tyrant removed from construction. Nello in the bathroom. They know where he is. Hungry's just going to stick the kit as they watch for the swing and pre-fire the angle. Really, this is Wilds to throw away, but it seems like they want to. Just get one more for his trouble, and instantly they pulled themselves back. They know he's still going to try and swing the space. They've pulled themselves out to the side. There's pings. Going to take the second to go for, not the reload actually, just holds the defuse. You expect a swing. There it is. And Wild get one back.
You're talking about the conspiracies to come through, Emmy. Diffuser was planted, and yeah, elimination round in the end.
Yeah, so technically we're in a
still
similar
on
standing. Hungry, you know, had the plant in the round 2 of the previous game. It's you know, you have two. It's like alternate universes. It's
yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's the alternate universe we're in right now. But jokes aside, it just shows how like consistent these teams are as well, right? That those first 2 rounds basically almost go the exact same. Bar the clutch, of course, because Solotov are taken care of a little bit earlier. But you know, same results to come through. It's gonna be fun. Like, we have a direct game to just compare to now that was played just a couple weeks ago, and so far we are on schedule on repeating that.
This is the first change actually. In terms of sites, we went to CC Cam on the third round last time. So this is MNM deviating. Will it be a successful deviation?
See, that's that, you know, alternate timeline we're pulling out right now. You know, like, if we continue on with the previous timeline, we will lose. But if we change things up, we have an opportunity to win.
Because technically they did win their second gym hold last time round, and there's users trying to get an early fight, pulls themselves back, and doesn't quite get caught out by Jegs and Aces on the far end. Almost goes back for more and goes back for more. Aces puts a chunk of damage into users as they rotate their way around. Still alive, still kicking, and still able to cause some trouble. But you talked about how obviously Solotov in the previous round was only a bullet away. It's such a dangerous position. You think about the very first round where with all the damage done to Packball, it just took the side of an impact to wing him and knock him out of the round with the kit. So
double EMP to be used, and that will make sure there's going to be no success with getting that wall electrified with an electric claw. I also believe there was a concussion going through from Tab, so even if there was a bandit trying to go for the bandit trick, now of course it wasn't, would have been stopped from getting success out of that as well. So that wall guaranteed to open, but a lot of utility used to make it happen. 2 EMPs, 2 concussions, means they don't have either of those available for something later. I believe just a single EMP left in Impactball's pockets. So the next wall could theoretically be bandit tricked, and there's actually going to be... Oh, Nate just pulled it off, so it's going to be opening up. If we would have let it stick, we've actually had the exothermic out there.
One of those things where we get to watch it, and technically they do as well, because the game has been played, and see how these impacts could have impacts as the game goes on. But with those breaches, with a minute 20 left, with Jegs underneath, just giving himself some cautious ideas of anyone that might be above. He's hoping to get that opening catch. He's just making the territory uncomfortable. The potential rotate back around. Here it is, over the top. Yeah, you want to be quieter, which is why you take the ladder, rather than the very audible rappel sound. And he's tempted to take the swing, take the damage, and not be revealed. That's the game, but he doesn't quite trust that he's as secret as he thought.
The thing is as well, if you walk through that, you might actually take that damage and let out a loud cry as users will find Packball. It's going to be Packball removed off the board, a wild player off the board, and that means MNM, they can just continue to trade game now. Hungry will find one, smoke canisters are dealing some damage, and it will keep Wild at bay, but just for how long left can they keep them at bay with these smoke canisters?
Users, he's tucked up aggressively. Tab does find Nafe, the drop onto Logi, and there's the fight onto the door. Doesn't quite get it, and it's suddenly a 4 versus 1. They had the trade game, and then Wild had the guns locked. There's the swing around the door. There's the fight onto the first. They're down in a second, but Tab just in the position there to get the revenge kill, and Wild pull themselves ahead.
Well done by Wild there, just playing it very carefully in the end, not just rushing as soon as they had the advantage. I mean, they stacked up on the staircase, but they got those first kills, didn't instantly all take the site. Like, what they did is they basically set themselves up for a post plant already. They, you know, the diffuser wasn't even down yet. It wasn't even being planted yet, but they were already ready to have themselves in position to stop anything from happening at that point. So, well done by them there. Good composure. Keeps them in the lead. Or puts them back in the lead, rather. Now we're headed down below. Back towards the basement. We have deviated completely now from the previous timeline we had. So everything that we might have mentioned to be a conspiracy before is all out of the window now. It's just a completely new game that has been played 2 days ago. But results still unknown to all of us. Now, some of you might look at this and they think, oh, SSG Roam. Because, you know, as soon as you use Castle, everybody shouts SSG Roam. That's just how it goes. But it actually blows off.
They were the first, sure, but it was such a long time ago.
It's such a long time ago, and it's also not the Roam, considering, you know, Hatch is closed. There's a bunch of other...
There's so much utility on the top here. This is way beyond anything else. They've got the full extension. I mean, I said it at the time before, you can sort of play this site heavy down underneath, or you can stretch it. You can get yourself all the way to the top. With how much is there, though, Ace is going to see if he can try and cut it right in the middle. If you can ignore the holders out, if you can win this fight, you've got 3 players around that stair set, though. So getting one and surviving is probably low on the odds. And, well, they don't even want to try and take the gamble. They've pulled back. And with all the extension they did to the top floor, at the 2-minute 10 mark, all of them are back in sight.
Feels like a lot of wasted utility at that point. Like, you've put so much down just to abandon it. I mean, sure, like, they still need to clear it. They still need to get drones out there. They still need to, you know, make sure there's no one out there. But it seems like they're not too worried already anymore anyway. Jegs already starts to open up. Aces is ready to descend down the stairs. I believe they just need to be careful. No, actually, no C4 currently in play. I believe Uses has his pre-placed, though, so that's ready to blow up at any moment. I'm just not sure where it currently is. So, unfortunately, cannot ask the observer to highlight it this time.
Yeah, it's sort of like Amedics from 3 days ago. Or 2 days ago. Or Red Like. I don't even know who observed this one. Good observing. Thanks. We wanted to see the hatch. That's right.
4x Carlos removed. It's going to be quickly putting back on the claw again, not giving them any opportunity of getting rid of that one. Basically, we'll have to use a grenade to get rid of that claw, and then also we'll have to follow that one up to make sure that doesn't, you know, isn't a second claw that gets replaced in there. So basically, kitchen hatch most likely will stay closed, and that means WYLDE will have to explore different avenues, and it seems like their eyes fallen upon blue mostly now, as a lot of them were looking towards that hatch direction. At the same time, we also have some players around the main stairs and the motorcycle hatch, so they might actually have more faith in going for a drop like that.
Well, here comes pressure over the back, and there is the whip. As you said, they have more of an idea of a swing elsewhere, but stuck in the smoke. There's Ace is getting one instantly back. He's going to see if he can pre-fire towards A-Case. Nobody's home, and the kit is driving its way down onto main on the back end. Packbull gets the lucky strike through the soft wall, as Aces is now just keeping the pinch on the far end. Tyrant gets Jegs on the back, and Packbull gets one more. He's trying to drive himself into the site for the plant itself, with Nafe going on the rotate round onto the back. With this broken, and with the flash just making that impact, they're going for a bit of a pinch here on the players. They cannot win it out. It's traded now with just Nello versus the world. As the one player behind the box itself holding on. It's Packbull, who's done so much work this round. And he drives it all the way. Wild pull once again around ahead, around further, and a timeout is called by Nello.
Needing time to talk while they find themselves on 3 rounds on that first half. And that's basically a cutoff point. Like, you want to get 3-3 as a split, especially on Clubhouse. Map that could go either way, depending on how good you are on defense or attack. But WYLDE finding themselves 3 rounds already, with still 2 more to play, could prove very troublesome for MNM here. And we mentioned it before, right? Like, WYLDE already, they had that first map. They came into a new best of 2, you can almost say. All they need to do is just win 1 map. Now, they didn't really get close on Chalet. MNM was in charge. Like, there was nothing WYLDE could do there. But now we're on a different playground. We are back on Clubhouse. WYLDE has beaten MNM before. They have had the opportunity to review their VOD against MNM, see if they might have, you know, spotted something they've missed before. Of course, MNM has the same opportunity to do so, but it's just a matter of who has improved the most on their Clubhouse compared to the previous time these 2 teams played against each other on this map.
I think that's also the drive as well, is there's just familiarity. You have a lot of knowledge. You might find yourself suddenly in this best of 1 against all the odds with potentially half of the game gone. You're looking now at this sort of isolated situation here where WYLDE have obviously got a familiarity with M&M's holds. They've got this patience. But if the learning game is a 2-sided coin, we're going to see a 2-sided game here. M&M feel they should be doing better on their defense because you always do, I think, on club. You want to make sure that you can sort of keep at least the site as 100% yours. And with that loss, they suddenly do not have that blessing anymore.
Sure, there's no blessing there. Back towards the basement we go. Now, we've seen it. We've seen the drops coming in from WYLDE on their first attempt that were unsuccessful. We've just seen them be successful at their attempt of an attack when they were not granted with opening up the kitchen hatch. Forced to go for motorcycle. Take the actual church and go for a plant near the bar, near the black boxes, and they were able to find success at that point. So they wanted to go for some kitchen play, but they were denied the access to it. And they found success on their adaptation. And now, while, you know, they have another go at it, what are you going to do? You're going to go for, you know, the same attack that was just successful. You're going to change it up again and hope for the best because, you know, MNM, they have an opportunity to counterplay right now. They've had the, you know, experience of just having played against you on this side. They saw where it all broke apart and they have the opportunities to, you know, replace that weakest link in the chain to make sure it doesn't break it up.
Once again, quick clear over the top here, but WYLDE, they sort of made sure that they've done the most with the space up, but they haven't entirely thrown themselves headlong into the extended hole. They're still droning it, still checking, still being very, you know, particular about what needs to be seen and what needs to be cleared here. But still, from this point onwards, how, as you said, do they try and go for the collapse? Do they think that blue will be the gambit? Do they try and go on the back line? Either way, it's been the wider focus has had more of that success for them. Here as the hammer starts to hit over the top, they're looking once again towards the pipes, walls onto church.
Down slowly. Grenades are starting to roll through. So just bounced back. That could have been a kill if that would have actually landed where it needed to be. Ace is now changing the target for the second one right underneath. No, it's the magnet that will catch it. Impact grenade flies right past him as well, so it doesn't do any damage to Aces. And that's just 3 pieces of utility that were all supposed to hit someone off the board, not taking any damage to any of them on either side. Someone's have been denied.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love the Maestro bubble there. Just sort of swung around, did a couple of cheeky zaps there. With all the destruction on kitchen, it's really the only way that you can have anything in that position currently to try and stop it. Aces and Hungry. And Backball even to support as well for the drones. They're going high pressure onto the back of blue. They're just getting rid of that procs buried into the stairs. Now they can go for the full swing. There's a disc and a catch. There's a shotgun lockout from users that does get Jags, and Nave swings with Patbull getting one of his own. It's trades all across the board, but with blue becoming theirs as a pressure, another in a hyper-aggressive spot, they might be able to cut this. The fight in the middle, no, Teb wins it out. Tyrant gets the kill onto Teb. It's a 2 versus 2. There is the plant cold, and with only 2 seconds, MNM hold on, but it was pretty close.
It was way too close for comfort there. They almost had that plan down if it would have been on the board again. But had to fight back into it. Just walking through the rotation just in time. MNM, they escaped with that round just barely. 3-2. A 3-3 split. Again, that's what they will be looking for. They're hoping to get themselves an even half here, MNM, to get themselves a fighting chance in that second half. And WYLDE, of course, looking to find the opposite. They've just got 4-2'd on Chalet. They want to find a 4-2 themselves to start off their first half of the third map with. Again, for those of you just tuning in, this is for a major spot. Whoever wins Clubhouse finds themselves qualified for the major in Copenhagen. And it's not just that, it's also going to be a bunch of SI points, which you otherwise might not be able to get. And again, stressing with the rework of the format and there only being 2 stages and 2 majors, every point will count even more than it did last year. And we already know how close that got with teams being like close to tied up and it coming down to like tiebreakers in the end on who would be making it through and who would not be. So you just want to make sure you get as many points as early on as possible.
Every little helps. Into the famous slogan.
Yes. That's very true. Every little bit helps. It's
oh! There's a little bit out. Off the shoulder of Nave. Just
also help.
Tried to eco rotate round. And this. The aggressive mirror placement. Now this being deployed suddenly means that if you want to try and put pressure onto this, that can get popped open and they can impact out. It's going to get punched. But it's not used for sightlines. It's used for audio and used to try and stop breaches coming through successfully. They're going to swing against it and pre-fire onto the impact, hope that they catch it. Is one way of getting a response, but it gets opened, it becomes an awkward angle, it becomes an awkward entrance onto the site, and we can hear a Con 6 pop elsewhere. In the meantime, you can see, once again, WYLDE They're going for the wider take here onto our first swing on CC.
Now the thing is, that's a line of sight, but it's in that awkward situation, as you mentioned before, because you cannot really hold it from rappel well, or at least not fully. And crouching out there just makes you a bit of a target as well. So preferably you would have opened up the wall a little bit more so you actually had something to work with there, especially Packbull, of course, playing with the diffuser, needing to find himself a way in. Be that mirror window down below in launch that's actually going to be looking up this staircase, so you're not going to be able to directly go and challenge that garage. So WYLDE needing to go for a different opportunity, and it seems like they will be going for a construction push together here. You need to be careful. Is Solotov still out there? On that Oryx would instantly pop up as Jax finds Nello.
Yeah, caught out there right on the breach of the site itself. It's trying to hide behind the bomb chassis. The smoke covers the motion and the swing. They're going to see if they can try and lead themselves in. Packbull's got the kit. Another one to keep your eyes on because, well, they've gone to an entirely different position. Tucked right on the back of the smoke, hoping to draw the attention elsewhere. But Tyrant hasn't moved, doesn't need to. Because Packbull tings him and takes the fight anyway. They're trying to find the fight from underneath. They're going to plant right by the window. They're looking for the engagement. Solotov can go for the pre-fire. They move off and they just catch the end of Packbull. And with the kit cold, they're going to get the player back up. The rotate comes all the way around top red. Solotov's able to get one more. Uses on the door itself. There's Solotov popping off on the side of red. He's looking for another engagement. Solotov! Absolutely unreal round.
What a round that was from him. Just picking him up one by one taps all around. Rotating back up. Now again, not sure what WYLDE was doing there. They lost, you know, their lives due to those C4s coming through. Then they went for the pickup. They lost the diffuser. Then they lost it again. It maybe would have been better to just let him be, go for that diffuser, and find yourself a safe spot to plant on. But what a round from Solotov. Or more importantly, what a beautiful 3 one-taps from Solotov, just like that. Insane. And how do you play against that? I mean, sometimes, you know, you have these strategical outplays. It's like, yeah, they just won this strategically. And sometimes you have players like Solotov that just do what they just did, right? They pre-fire an angle, or they just snap to an angle, fire a shot or two, actually manage to find heads all around. There's no way to counter that. You cannot play against that. Beautifully played.
A 3-3 half. And we find ourselves in, well, that confusing moment here. I mean, time is cyclical, my friend. And here we are on a 3-3 on club with MNM now on attack. And as I said at the very beginning of this showdown, MNM, the last time they were here, they made mistakes. There was little things that didn't connect, most obviously on their attack. There was even this opening round on CC where I remember the sort of misthrowing grenades over the top. They couldn't quite get the angle, and WYLDE were able to just swing in and win fights. You expect and want to see, I guess, a different MNM here on the approach, one that's a little bit more ready for the approach of WYLDE.
WYLDE on the defense now. The Doc and Rook combo coming out. Of course, Rook makes sure you cannot be insta-killed unless it's a headshot. You always go DBNO. That makes it a nice combo with Doc, who now fully heals you back up to 100 and a little bit HP now. Headshots are not part of it. So the player in garage is going to be feeling a lot safer now. Hungry taking out 2 of these drones, being chased down by a sledgehammer and some shots through the wall, able to rotate back out. He's going to be finding himself fully back up to HP, protecting the red stairs out there. The benefit of the dock on the site.
Oh, with here, play underneath, caution from WYLDE. They're still sort of waiting for MNM to make a statement, but you're looking at minute 30 and look at the positions here. There's only really one that's inside, and it's Solotov trying to win, and does. A scrappy engagement over the top of the bomb chassis, finding the pressure onto the wall on the site that it seemed like WYLDE were expecting a little bit earlier. The breach came through. I'm not sure if that Selma was just a little bit premature there. It was. Didn't quite get the connection with the ball. The impact did get off the swing. Impact was able to get Tyrant on the back of it. The rotate round underneath the hatch. They got some of the ground back here. They're still a bit concerned, Nafe, waiting for somebody to try and swing round. It was, you know, a sort of, I don't want to say blinkered, but direct approach from MNM here that might not have quite come to full fruition. They're still getting the back breach open, but look what they've used and look what they've got from it.
Grenade coming in, dealing a lot of damage. Just say forward, though, will find Solotov. Man, able to find some beautiful shots right before. It's going to be Tab trying to do the same thing now. Deals a little bit of damage to Nave. Nothing too much to worry about, though. The big issue is that time is slowly running out. Nello on the opposite side still needing to find himself a way into that garage, but first wants to hopefully find a single player, but Jag's fully aware of it. He's going to be holding off on it, throwing out impacts. The Snake will find Tab. That's going to be a great opening they can use here.
There it is, popping his way around onto the side of red, getting the fight there, locking it in, and I'm going to see if they can try and stick it, but with 14 seconds and a C4, and Nello over the top, it's just Jags in a 1 versus 1 on the back line. Nello, he's got a long distance to go and a cold kit. He has the pings on the fight. They're hoping he swings into it. He's hopped off on out of there. He is going to an entirely different city, and he's finding himself with his feet up and comfy. WYLDE, they get themselves the round, and you know, it seemed like a bit of a guessing game from both teams at first.
It definitely was, and you know, never really having a clue where everybody was going to be coming from. They had no idea what was actually happening. That diffuser going down, Nello having to make the call, but as soon as he ran through the door, we already saw the rotations coming out there. That jump, running for your life. You're never going to be catching up on him at that moment anymore. So, well played there by WYLDE, able to hold on, take themselves back into the lead after losing 2 rounds in a row. Now going to bar stage. On their defense. For those of you that don't know, verticality quite important here. You want to make sure that you have that top floor in control. Those hatches are very important and a very good tool to use to stop some of these default plans out. Especially if we're talking about stage. It's going to be hard to plan on there if you have the hatching construction under control. The gym hatch is often opened up as well, just as an alternate way back into pool, if there would be an attack to come from that direction. So keep an eye out on the top floor. WYLDE should be holding on to that with, let's say, at least 3 people, I would dare to say.
A couple.
Couple,
at least
2, 3 people,
couple.
something like that. Yeah.
We could see MNM expected maybe a different side. Pretty much a full change of who they wanted to bring. And we've seen MNM do attacks on this side again that have been good, and some, well, that have been a little bit bad. I mean, okay, it's not that it was bad. I just always remember the round when Nello tucked the plant in the corner and Shaiko dropped and instantly defused it. And they didn't quite have the swing and the cover. I think it was a Monty and even a Gridlock that was combined in that. And you know, I think that's the thing here about MNM. They have these good spark ideas. They just haven't quite been able to turn them into something a little bit more than a spark. They're breaching the pressure over the top on the backhand. As the gym wall will get itself open, they're just going to send the second through to make sure they don't suffer the pressure on the back. And there it is. The Bandit is too busy offering full support towards CC wall instead.
Opening up further. There's nothing really they can do about that. Luckily, though, it's not going to be the actual site. That's down below. It'll be the next target. That's an exothermic already placed on top of that wall, breaching out as well. Could have actually been a normal breaching charge, not quite sure. But wall has been opened up into pool. And it seems like that is going to be their main point of pressure. They want to get in there. But to do so, they need to get rid of the player inside the kitchen. Solotov attempted that. Tab now aware of the fact that he's being hunted. Solotov aware of the fact that someone's in there. So it's going to be a bit of a cat and mouse game. How are you going to be dealing with this? So they're calling over Nave for some extra support.
Tab is a bit concerned. And he's just going to get himself holding the tuck angle, sees the drone, and it's an awkward fight to take on a swing round, but you always have that window just on the shoulder. Naif, in the meantime, the deep room sort of underneath, he doesn't quite want to full swing onto that. He's going to get some awareness here. Tyrant, in the meantime, the Nooks sneaking their way up to the top, waiting and moving on the back of those calls, hoping to try and get the catch on where it is. They see that the hatch itself is open. Teb moves to the opposite side of the kitchen. As I said, there's a lot of pressure points, and Esteli being open with Solotov getting the first. There goes Teb. There goes the pinch onto the player in kitchen. There's a Nook that didn't quite expect Hungry where they were, almost got the drop, but with a sliver of health left, they can keep themselves in that power position. The shotgun's locked and a slow creep comes around. It's just going to take a fraction of either of these two guns to connect, and there's the first fire. The smoke canister's just going to not quite get popped out as it gets shot down, but the shotgun is the shot down. Solotov does get the pickup on the top side of the stairs. 20 seconds, though, and a 4 versus 3.
Jax coming down from below might be crucial here. The plant is already going down. Aces will find users. Jax coming up on the top now. It's going to be too late to stop the diffuser. So 45 seconds counting down in a 2-on-2 situation. Make that only one. Nave needing to clutch this out. He's found himself up on top. Does he still have a breaching charge available? Doesn't seem to be the case. So the hatch is all he has to play with here to stop this diffuser from being countered off. Don't want to drop yet. You need to wait for some amount of sound, but as they went for the pickup, it is now a 3-on-1 situation. With 20 seconds left on the clock, he drops, he will find one. The barricade there will stop him just momentarily, which will implicate things just slightly. Packbull going for the defuse here. Put up a C4 to cover if he hears the sound. Aces has the cover. No, he does not! And Nave finds two! He finds the round for MNM, and he really shouldn't have at that point.
Unbelievable round from Nath there, and you can see the reaction from his teammates. And I know they talked about it on the desk. You hope WYLDE have the old chat closed because MNM have been just consistently in it. And after that round with that play, I mean, as you said, that should not have been one that they won out. A 3 versus 1. They had all the intel coming from the audio, the drops in the motion. It's just one of those things that really should have connected there for WYLDE. We find ourselves back level now, back and forth, as it seems to continuously go. And they're not going to opt for bar again, instead down to the basement with the original lineup that we saw from MNM on the previous round. So this is where they believed they would go next anyway. And they're well prepared, and now they've got the energy from an unbelievably well played round.
Yeah, that's a momentum changer around like that, because I mean, even though it was, you know, a bit straight back and forth the last couple of rounds, if you win it that way in a 1v3 post-plant, it is still going to be giving you some extra energy. It's still going to give you the rest of your team whatever they need to perform just a little bit better at this moment in time. And it might actually be enough to slightly put a dent into the morale of WYLDE. Because that's also what you're going for. I mean, why else be active in the alt chat, right? Like, we don't know if WYLDE had it on at this point. But we know mentals are often a big part of the game in the Europe League, so a round like that, definitely hitting on the mental twice. Ooh, good drone.
Yeah, great drone. Has the eyes on the player on the top of the rafters. I mean, you know, when you find yourselves trying to hunt those loose threads, as we said before, MNM would have a full sort of extension on their defense and then hand a lot of it back over. They didn't want to sit around. How determined is Ted? Because if he's a little bit too locked in as the camera gets revealed, they're going to maybe hope for the player. The C4 goes towards the door. He wants to catch them on the rotate. There it is. Oh! The hop comes around. He doesn't get the kill. The grenade won't get the pickup, but Tyrant does. The trade out. It's a cost, but it's one that MNM threw themselves in with the knowledge it might have to be paid and at least come out with an even hand.
I mean, Tab did everything he could do there, right? Like, he was being pressured from 2 opportunities with grenades. You jump through the window, you're dead guaranteed. So all you can really do is just jump down, take the fight, especially if they're throwing in grenades at that moment in time. So I don't think he would have been able to get out of that alive. The only way would have been to not be there at that point. Phone call goes off, hatches are being opened up. It's all pretty much the default. The big question, though, is MNM, are you aware of the roamer that's happening on the top floor? I believe it's actually going to be Aces, and EDD will pick up a kill. Packbull will find Nate as well. In the meantime, it's only up to Nello and Users. Now, they slowly start to clear up the side. There's one more player out there. The rotation comes around. Users is ready for it. We'll find one. Is he going to be aware of the second? He should have been. He's still holding it. Rotation comes back around. Nello now trying to secure the last person on the side itself as well, because as soon as they find him, a plant can be attempted.
Here it is. Users come for the swing. They're able to win out the fight, and from where they were to where they are now, it's another round that's tragically falling away from WYLDE here. MNM, they're going to go for plant in the 2 versus 1. Users looking for the fight. Aces gets the rotation, and Users has the watch. It was a round where, once again, WYLDE, they've gotten a couple of kills. They've gotten a couple of motions there. The swing round, the lock inside the site, and sure, that's where some of the engagement started to go away from them, but still, it's a tenacity from MNM that knows that this game is the separation between them and the major, and maybe it's the pressure of that for the same thing from WYLDE here. They fall around back. They are only 2 away from falling down to having to play through another 3 games to have a chance at Copenhagen after what was such a great run during group.
Again, good realization of what was happening out there from MNM, right? They realized, okay, there's 2 upstairs. We just have to go at it right now. If we manage to win these gunfights, we suddenly hold the keys to this fortress. We can hold them as they come back in. They need to come back in as well because time is suddenly in our favor. And they did that perfectly fine. And now, Wild, how are you going to be cleaning this up? Because it's quite sloppy these last 2 rounds. It's time to pull it back together slightly. Play a bit more compact, maybe. Not quite sure. Because MNM, they are reading into your weaknesses and they are abusing them to the max of their abilities.
MNM, can you keep this energy going? I don't want to be that sort of worry in the winds that talks of tradition, but when things are at the closest, sometimes when things have fallen away, and that's been a couple of big clutch rounds in a row, you have to try and harness that. Try and make sure that doesn't fall away. It's all still possible for WYLDE. They still have their timeout as well to have a conversation if they want to. Solotov with the opening down onto dirt, getting themselves instantly in across the full stretch of the site itself. And it seems like they have an awareness, at least on one of the players, and they had this awareness before. This time Hungary's not going to stick around and seeing what comes next.
You know what I said on Chalet about the drone game hurting WYLDE when they were on the attack? Now when they're on the defense, they know exactly where all of them are. Solotov opens up, takes down Hungary. He was spotted to go downstairs on that drone. They just waited for him. They executed him and now are moving on towards the side, MNM. And their information game is on point. And WYLDE are unable to actually deal with it at this point, and that's really hurting them.
Now, as they flitter their way across the top, they've obviously been able to get that opening body, and they did it without the trade cost that they suffered on the previous round here. And, you know, we think about the take. Last time, it was very late that they had anybody inside the building. They only really had one person putting pressure on the other side, and the hard breach did not quite work together. And even then, it turned into quite a dramatic round when push came to shove. Here, with this slight advantage, with the slight bit extra, they aren't quite able to get the catch, and well, unfortunately for Tab, he's just going to have to pull himself tucked on the side. The impact breach will stop it, turning into a full rotation. They just have the angle. They also still have the option to try and do more of it.
50 seconds left on the clock. WYLDE still being very compact around the side is what might be saving them here, because as long as they have that garage under control, the breach that Nave has just made is not going to be as viable as they otherwise would have wanted to. Especially with Ace is still out there on the top of red stairs. He's kind of in that pivotal position. If he survives there, he is going to be able to put up some damage. He's going to be able to just skirmish himself away around an MNM not having a way in. Not a reliable one, at least. Nello's going to be trying to cut off any rotations in form of this small breach that has been made. He's going to be creating a rotation fully, so he can walk in eventually. He's aware of the fact that there's 1 or 2 on the Raptors as Tab will find users.
The pressure all the way onto the back of red. They're blinding absolutely everything as Nave tucks himself in. Inside the kit, he's been able to just find his way onto site, and he's going to see if he can stick the plant with Solotov offering the cover onto the door. Nello gets 1 and 2 right on the breach itself. There's 3 for Nello, and Ace is left all alone on the top of the stairs. He's able to win out 1. He goes for the planter!
He got it!
It's unbelievable! Once again, another round in a row where it is just beyond words how these rounds are ending.
Managing to take him down at the very final moment. He realized he was being pushed. He realized the clock is on 0 seconds. And he decides to just take the gamble. Takes the fight onto the diffuser planter. Shuts him down. Brings it to 5-5. With that, they live another round. But how close that was. They're definitely not feeling comfortable on the side of WYLDE, but we do have something proven now, Emmy. They do have their alt chat on, because they started typing in that moment in time. They're responding.
The hip fire kill into getting the diffuser down with somebody swing on you.
That's something, you know. It's a big something that happened out there.
All of the endings of the previous 3 rounds have been insane. I mean, it's had the heat that you wanted. I sort of said it at the start of that. There's always still that possibility for WYLDE. It's not that they're written off. MNM have to be the ones that keep their cool. And there it is. There is that sort of idea manifest. Aces able to just get that swing around, to just have the awareness and the sense and the wherewithal to know where they needed to remove the player. 5-5. Now we're down.
We've actually had a rehost right before this final round because everybody's in like 0 kills, 1 kill.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking at it, it's like, wow, how did they still have 0 kills after 9 rounds? But
Wait, does that mean... Yeah, so that means Aces... That was their only kill from the rehost. They got 1 and the down.
yeah, the 1 and a down. That's all he did in rehost. MNM going quickly here, taking over that middle floor, instantly pushing down the hallway, and making sure to have the central staircase. Right towards the bomb site they go.
Yeah.
This is going to be quick.
Oh, they've realized it. They hit the Goyo canisters. Solotov does get aces. I'm assuming gave the call that they're coming their way through. Users just pushed the fire, got himself into the site, but with the others slowed down, Nafe is going to try and get the black plant on the back end. Teb, he wants to fight his way back in. He's concerned about dirt, but he should be concerned about a lot of places. There's one more. There's a post plant very quickly. Hungry with a great take off the head of Nafe. 4 versus 2, though. 3 versus 2. The take onto the main double door with Jags coming his way around. They've sort of isolated themselves in towards the fight itself. They're going to see if they can strong arm their way back in. There's a big rotate coming around onto Kitchen. 2 players inside Kitchen currently. 1 down on the site itself. They've gone with the full hold above. They knew how important that fight was to win it, and they won it. There's the loss for MNM on the round, and well, the sick of playing a slow game. We find ourselves now on map and series point 6-5. 1 round separates MNM from some plane tickets to Denmark.
I really have to say I appreciate the quick pace they went with there. The tech timeout was called by WYLDE because, you know, you win 2 rounds just barely, then you lose a round that just goes away from you at like the final millisecond because otherwise the kill would have come in the opposite side. So what do? You realize there's an opportunity to go quick, and you just go quick. They would never expect that to happen after rounds that have been so chaotic, after being like so systematic for a while. And then just that quick round to come in, a quick fire one, you instantly take that side control. Don't mind about the fire, just walk through it. It's only a little bit of damage. If you manage to get the kills, it doesn't matter. And with the MNM, they secured themselves a map and match point. A major point. Major qualification, that is. Not major point. It's not a championship.
It's not, no.
And bar stage is where WYLDE is going to try and fend them off before the overtime will hit. Are they going to be successful? Again, top floor. Very important here. Last time it came down to that clutch. Eve dropping down the hatch in the post plan, finding 2, and then finding the diffuser or counter diffuser as well. Those plays are not something you can rely on. Not in the long run, at least. Like, they will happen every now and then. But
I'm assuming that's why WYLDE have come back.
yes, exactly.
They knew it should have been their round. They knew it should have been their win. And things went away from them. That happens in this game. Being able to pick your head up. It's the whole big statement about WYLDE is how do you swing back when you get punched? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Their first technical punch in the face was the loss against Virtus Pro. How do they bounce back into it? How do they change their swing round? I talked about a particular play that involved Nello and a shield and smokes, and how you might recall it, people at home, where they take control of main door, they cover it in smokes, they tuck just inside on the stage and go for the plant, and then they pull back. They did that, and BDS instantly just dropped the hatch from above and defused the kit. And it was a bit of disbelief then. You really hope for the sake of MNM it's not a bit of disbelief now.
Oh, that's all the openings. Second time this game already it happens that way. Not sure if that was an impact.
No, I think it was, yeah. Jags has used his impact, so
okay.
I'm going to assume that was an impact from above.
Either way, it's an opening they can use, and that means that if they want to go for a similar plan like they did before and someone drops the hatch, there's at least an angle they can now use to stop that from happening. There's 2 things they need to do, though. First of all, someone needs to be making sure there is no free roaming around construction and using the hatch. Someone needs to be paying attention to that window. It has been opened up. I think it will happen at some point as well. And besides that, someone needs to be making sure that there is no one actually inside the bar or in the kitchen able to use any long angles to throw up a C4, to throw up a smoke, to even shoot out the feed if they know exactly where the Monty is planting in reverse.
And I believe that's what Solidor's job will be, to just take that kitchen hallway, because as soon as you have that under control, suddenly there's no more safe space for a defender to truly try and challenge Nello.
Yeah, the attack here is, you don't need the hugest amount of space, but you do need to have an awareness on swing. You have to have a reflex preparation for popping anything that comes across, and that's what this setup is. A bit of pressure coming onto the side of kitchen door. They might see if they can try and pinch out that player, and there's Teb doing his best to hold on. He was the first body lost last time around, but then WYLDE were able to pull back quite a few of their own. The drones are causing him problems, but not as much as Solidor does on the window, with Nath getting hungry as well, and suddenly there is a huge bout of pressure here. It's a pack ball, Jegs and Aces, everything to try and keep WYLDE fighting in this series against what is coming up here. 40 seconds. MNM, they're proposing themselves the plant and the idea. They're just getting some final checks down on the rotate onto the back. As I said, they don't need to take a huge amount of control here for this plan to come together. Kitchen corridor, stage, construction, and a Monty with a shield.
There's only a single C4 available to plant. Is happening now. Aces, you need to make a move, because otherwise it's 45 counting down. It is 45 counting down. At least the trade comes through. The Monty has been taken care of, but Solotov instantly finds the response as well. Jags, Pack, both up on the top floor. They need to rotate around. A lot of damage done by their own C4. Packbull almost loses his life. And what are you going to do now? Jack's still up on that top floor, still not going down. Packbull has just been taken down. This might be the end of the game. This is MNM going to the Copenhagen Major, unless Jack somehow pulls something out in the next 11 seconds, which he won't. Tyron locks it off, and MNM, after losing the first map due to internet problems, coming back 2 days later to play the remainder of maps, will qualify.
Well, MNM. Credit to them. Revenge on Clubhouse and revenge for what transpired